All right, so I'm going to take us through Quizizz. We covered Quizizz before. Jeremy and I made some lessons, and we focused on how to build lessons. And one thing that really fits with what we're talking about in today's video is the accommodations piece. So Quizizz has already, done some work here and thought ahead that we do need to have accommodations in these programs. And so on the left-hand side here, you'll see there's this accommodations button. And this will allow you to add accommodations to students, and it will actually register that that student will need those accommodations for anything that you create. So I want to just take you through how when you're in Quizizz and you want to get accommodations out to students, one of the things you have to do first, right, is to actually make sure that the students are in your class. So what I want to show is firstly how to, when you create a class like this one here, example, which you can just click create a class and type it in there, or you can import from Google Classroom as well. As you can see, I have one here. But let's just take this example one. And what we're going to do is click add a student. And for this example, we'll just copy the link. And I'm going to go over to our student side here. And we're gonna put in the link. We'll just do it from right here and load it up. And then you can see this is what the student would see just to join the class, right? So we'll get them in. You can do like your parent or guardian address, but it's optional. And then we're just gonna join the class. And then this is where the student would kind of wait. So we'll come back to this area in a minute. And right now, what we'll do is we're going to go back here for a second. And you can see now that we've got one student in this class. Okay. And they'll be listed down here. Now, when it comes to the accommodations side, what we would do is we can click on accommodations and we can actually select for whole classes or for individual students. So if you wanted to, you could do select all for all classes, or you could be specific, right? You could say, well, I want accommodations for this whole class. Maybe you have, for certain activities, maybe you have more than one student that needs the same accommodations. So you could always do that too if you want to. For our example, what we'll do is we're just going to select the individual student, which is the one that you just saw where I joined. So we're gonna choose this. And what you'll notice is that on the right-hand side here, you have all your accommodations listed. Now, I'm in the free version of Quizizz, and so there are some limitations for what accommodations are available. The basic accommodations are available in the free version of Quizizz, and what those include are your read aloud. And we'll add these in. Extra time for questions, adjusting, if you're doing like a quiz, do they get an extra minute? You could put that in there as 1 minute, right? We'll do a read aloud, and they actually get brought up to the top here once you've selected them. And then let's say we want to allow this student to have maybe unlimited attempts at it, right? So then what you can see is in this little window, here's our current accommodations. The advanced accommodations, there's definitely more that you can do with the paid version. I'll show some previews of that once we're done looking at this. But basically what we have is we've checked our student and we have current accommodations set for that student. You could remove them by clicking here, or you could always modify them within this current accommodations section. So from here, right, then we kind of go back into our mode of assigning lessons or quizzes or whatever you want to do that's available in Quizizz and get it out to the students. So what we could do is let's go over to our library, go into the editing phase of the assessment. And before I get it out to the student, there's this process of, after we set up the accommodations, we're going to assign it to the students. And that's kind of when the accommodations will kick in. You can actually see over here on the left-hand side, there's a little toggle button here where you can turn them on or off. So those predetermined accommodations, like let's say for some reason they're not actually going to need the accommodations for something that you found in here, then you could always turn those off if you would like to. But when you go over to your assign area, it's going to bring you the final window before we push it out. And here we've got accommodations on, and you can edit options from here. So if you needed to add another student or a class or something like that, that's fine. But I just want to show what happens if we select a class, just so we can register that there is a few. Once we hit done, you can now see here 1 of 1 students have accommodations. So essentially what's happening is once this class is chosen to assign to, it's registering that there are already accommodations in place. And again, you could always turn them off here again, if turn them off or turn them on. And what's nice is that if you had more students in the class, right, if you select the accommodations for those students, what will happen is this will reflect that. So if I had Jeremy in my class as well, because of my setup, when I go to my accommodations area and I'm in here, if Jeremy is in this class as well, and he's not checked, he won't receive the accommodations. So in other words, right, I would leave him on for David, and then Jeremy would not receive those. And then what we would do is in our assignment area that we just were at, this would be reflected here. And when we assign the example class, then what it would say is it would say 1 of 2 students have accommodations. And those accommodations are specifically for that student that you check marked. So Jeremy, when he got the quiz, he wouldn't get the read aloud, wouldn't get the extra time and the unlimited attempts that are available with those accommodations that we set up. So you can see here too, just in a general sense, there are other settings that you can put in here. Once I do have the accommodations set down here, you can see 1 student will get extra attempts, and then you can view the students and it'll show just if you want to double check which ones are there that are receiving the extra attempts. So again, if you change this, if I say 1 attempt, because of the accommodations, this student, right, will get extra attempts, unlimited. Okay, and you could set up various accommodations. So maybe you want to have 1 student that is only going to get 2 attempts, right? You could decide that in your accommodations area and check that. And then when you get over to here, you can view what are those accommodations for those students. And then here you've got the extra time one as well. So with the accommodations that are set up, we're basically showing how many students have the accommodations for this assignment, how many, kind of almost like an inventory of each one and what they get to do. So participant attempts, extra time. And then once we assign it, then we actually can see the read aloud accommodation. So we'll assign this, this quiz on Code Talker. And then what we would do is we need to go back over to the student side, and you can see there's already a window that's popping up for the student to do. Now they could hit play now on their side. Let me just do it later for a second. And if I go to the home area as a student, it will actually show up right here, right? New game assigned, there's a little notification. So then if I want to do it from here too, I can go in. And then what I really like is once the student is actually in the area that they're going to be doing this assignment, you can see, right, before they enter the assignment, put your name in there. Don't click start just yet. They have the option to toggle on or off that read aloud accommodation. And then they can also adjust the speed of the read aloud. So let's say they want to have it read a little bit slower to them so they can process the question. Then they've got, the ability to adjust the read aloud. They have the unlimited attempts. They have the extra time for the questions as well. So maybe that's more fitting. For our sake, we're just going to leave it at normal so you can hear what it sounds like. But then when the student goes in and starts the quiz, It's going to bring them to one more window, just kind of with their power-ups area that, little interactive game type stuff that Quizizz does. But then they're going to start the game, and then it'll just start reading the questions to them.
Question: what made the Americans stop picking up leftover Japanese food and supplies? Option: the soldiers started getting better food. Option: the Japanese set bombs and traps by their materials and food. Option: the Japanese started to pick up and take all of their things. Option: the Americans got sick.
Okay. So this is where we can just have it, it's going to read for us.
Question: which one of Ned's friends was thought to be dead but later came back alive? Option: George.
Right. So you get a picture of the read aloud and the, like extra attempts and stuff like that. This is where the student is going to be engaging with the content with those accommodations in place. And as I mentioned, like for other students, like if Jeremy's in the class, we can do all this in one area where we can then release the assignment, and the accommodations will fit the students that they're supposed to fit. And there won't be anything, getting in the way of Jeremy. If he doesn't need the accommodations, he'll still be in the class and he'll get the regular settings that would occur. Now, if you want to get something like the premium version of Quizizz, you could. What would be available in there then is a number of other accommodations. So you can kind of weigh like what is worth it to you in your for you as a teacher. But if we click on preview all accommodations, these are the free accommodations that we just went over. Then you've got some other ones that I think are worth pointing out. So you have the redemption question. So this gives them another opportunity. If they get it incorrect, it gives them another opportunity to take a like question. You have the ability to reduce answer choices. So if you have where your students are, you can kind of see in this picture here where Jeremy would have 4 options, but what I've got is when I get to the question, it takes away 2 options, and then I'm left with 2 if I need that accommodation. Then you've got some other ones here. You have some math stuff, and there's a little tools area that will come up. You have your Desmos scientific calendar. And you have your Desmos graphing calculator. Looks like it's taking a little bit there to process, but okay, so there's your scientific, and there's the graphing that you saw. So those are little tools that are actually that you can see. There's that little pop-up in the bottom of the question. So what this means is that it's once the student is already in the assignment, these are things that are made available to them if they need them. So, and then you've got some reading support stuff, which is actually pretty impressive. You have reading mode. So you have this basically it's taking the text from here, pulling it into this other window where you can adjust the different sizes of the font. You can adjust the window. Then you've got notes to refer. Okay, so this is going to be adding in some different things that maybe make more sense of it. As you saw there, it could just be like more notes, or it could be visual representations. Then you've got translate, which will automatically translate into whatever accommodation you've set up. So you will choose in the accommodations area, you can choose what the language is. So when the translate comes on, it will automatically do that as well. So that's something you can set up ahead of time. It'll be in there. You have the bilingual dictionary, which you see here, converting it over. So maybe they don't need the direct translation, but they're learning English, so they want to see what would be the equivalent of that in their language. You have dyslexia font, which is nice, kind of separates things a little bit more with space. You have the ability to adjust font size if they need a larger font. You have font spacing. And then here you just have some learning environment ones, like not showing the leaderboard or turn off sound effects. But I think more important to point out is some of these accommodations from our basic to our reading, math, question settings, all of that. So there's a lot available. And I think Quizizz has done a really nice job providing accommodations, even just in the basic area. So